Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Innovation Podcast, your source for all things innovation. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Ian Reynolds on the line, and he's a partner and the solutions architect over at Zibtek. Ian, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So excited to get into today's topic. So technology in the healthcare space. We'll also bring up the podcast your company has. So Tech Tales podcast. So always happy to promote other podcasts, and grow that community. But before we do all that, let's get into what you're doing over at Zibtek. Tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Yeah, you bet. So we're a custom software development firm. We were born out of my business partner had started a company, I guess now 15 years ago, grew that for 5 years and sold it, but they wanted to keep the band together. So for the last 10 years, almost 11 now, we have been providing services to the marketplace. And in particular recent years, it's been predominantly healthcare and finance software development. We do things outside of that, but that's been sort of our primary focus.
So what is, first off, I love the space. I'm a big fan of what's going on in healthcare, and I have a very self-interested take on this stuff, and this is this. We're all going to get older. We're all going to need something in healthcare at some point, so I'm like make it better for us all. I don't care what standpoint, whether it's the back end, the front end, doesn't matter, devices. What's interesting to you right now in the healthcare space technology-wise in terms of trends or other things that you're noticing?
Yeah, I think there's a large amount of consolidation of the available tools. One of the things we're seeing is that there's a need for integration to and among large tools like Epic and some of these other independent hospitals, right? So before the dawn or the advent of many of these really big, sort of commonly known healthcare systems, a lot of companies, healthcare companies, think of large hospital groups or large independent groups, built their own proprietary software. And the problem with that, or at least the problem that's been generated by that, is that not a lot of things talk to each other. It's not like you can get on Google and you're actually talking to lots of different websites. It's not really the case in the healthcare space. So there's a growing consolidation. There's a growing need of integration between these disparate systems to pull data in and out of them. And then there's also data scrubbing, where they're taking this data, obviously removing anything that's kind of patient-specific or would run afoul of HIPAA or anything like that, and then looking at that data in aggregate and saying, hey, wow, here are some insights we can leverage to produce better healthcare results for patients, help doctors make better decisions, help clinicians understand really what it takes to derive really, really positive healthcare outcomes.
Yeah, I see a lot of similarities in healthcare to what's been happening in finance forever. I mean, you have these legacy systems, right? Banks and other things where they built their own software and the other things, from the ground up in-house. And you're right, nothing talks. And now when you think about upgrading or getting out of these legacy systems, so I guess you have HIPAA on the healthcare side, and then on the finance side you have the SEC or FINRA, whatever the regulating body is, and all the compliance they have. So everybody has their challenges. So what do you think the next step of this evolution really looks like? I mean, from your vantage point.
I think you're going to see a lot of let's talk healthcare and finance at the same time. I think you're going to see a lot of key players continue to emerge. Like in the healthcare space, you're going to see Epics of the world. You're going to increasingly see, actually, in the finance space, banks step forward with their own technology. So for Goldman Sachs, for example, they're releasing their Marcus platform because banks are effectively commoditized. They have been since the 80s. And you're going to see these technology platforms be front and center as sort of the mechanism by which they're deriving value for their end user. And data is going to become really the new currency. It's not necessarily the platform itself, but it's the data that is housed and provided by these platforms. And so continued consolidation. I think these small players are going to continue to get bought up. in both spaces. In the banking space, I think you're going to see sort of currently entrenched players really triple down on their current offering because that data is going to be so valuable to them. They're not going to want to give it up. They're not going to want to sell it. They're going to want to use it for their own purposes. And I think this is also true in the healthcare space, but unfortunately it's a negative because we really should be sharing healthcare data so that all physicians have access to the same data sets and can derive better healthcare outcomes.
I don't want to assume that all our listeners understand the importance of this data. Can you go a little bit further, maybe with like an example or just something that you've seen in your past that kind of really gives us a visual picture of what makes this data so valuable?
Sure. So, I had a friend that, I'll talk on the healthcare side, I had a friend that had actually a really aggressive form of bone cancer. He's fine now. He's totally okay. He's made a full recovery, full remission, many years now. But he was hospitalized in a hospital in Texas, and that hospital group just so happened to have access to a database from another hospital in France, right? And they had just recently decided to share data, some of this patient data and information about treatments and how those things were working and what the outcomes were. And they had no data on this type of cancer anywhere else in the world. And simply because that hospital group had decided at some point to share that information with that other hospital group, he was able to receive a treatment that was statistically likely to save his life, and it did, right? But that data probably wasn't shared with a bunch of other hospital groups. It was really probably just sort of an independent collaboration, from what I understand, between those two hospitals. So take that problem, and then apply that to every hospital group in the United States, and that's a pretty massive problem, right? There's data they don't have visibility into that could materially improve somebody's well-being, save their life even, and so there are mechanisms for making sure that data is indexed and available to hospitals, patient groups, etc. But it just kind of hasn't emerged yet.
Wow, that's an absolutely amazing example, and I think that solidifies it. I mean, that's the difference between, and I'm glad we brought up the finance side too, because that's the difference between a bank, like let's just say, or not picking on them, but or a financial institution trying to earn a little bit more for their shareholders, which is their job. So I'm not saying no if they're publicly traded, and a healthcare system that we all pay into on some level, whether it be taxes or entitlements. I mean, all of us pay for it on some level. Whether you're insured or not, but the point being is that that sharing of information can literally save lives.
Yeah, very much so. And I'm all for, on the banking side, I'm all for the banks having and keeping their own data and being competitive.
Sure.
But we as a consumer actually benefit if they don't share their data because they're competing with their own sort of data sets, and we as a consumer win because they're competing.
So, Ian, let's talk a little bit more about Zibtek. So, there's a lot of business owners, a lot of executives, a lot of entrepreneurs listening right now. What are the right types of clients that make sense, whether it be niches or size of clients, for Zibtek?
Right. Yeah, thanks for asking. So, while we are focused on healthcare and finance, again, we serve all spectrums. We have food services businesses, and we had a garbage collection company, right? So we can do all these things. It's 100% within our wheelhouse. Our sort of ideal client would be someone who either is short in terms of the amount of engineering resources that they have in-house, or they don't really have the full team necessary to accomplish building a custom solution for their company, be it a mobile app, be it a web application, be it even a full-blown custom CRM or ERP. We've helped folks do that, and we have all the way from taking you to through a design and architecture phase, to a development phase, and then to a maintenance phase. We can do the full gambit and help you all the way through.
Fantastic. And what's the best way for someone to reach out to learn about Zibtek?
Yeah, best way to reach us is just visit zibtek.com, zibtek.com. And if you want to email us, hello@zibtek.com is perhaps the best email. And I'm CC'd on all those, so I definitely see them.
Man, fantastic. Well, hey, Ian, been great having you on the show today. Appreciate you providing us more on the background on what Zibtek's doing and the importance of data and what's going on in innovation in both healthcare and in finance. We got a little bonus thrown in there. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel on Mission Matters Innovation, definitely give us a subscribe there, but leave us some comments in the comment section of the video. Love to continue the conversation over at the YouTube in the YouTube community. And Ian, thanks again for coming on the show.